One of the things I like to remind young aspiring guitarists is that when you're listening to your favorite musicians, you're hearing them a long way into their journeys. I personally show you the best takes of things I've worked on for a long period of time. Until today, that is. I'm gonna go back, listen to, react, and tell you about the music I was making before I was Samurai Guitarist. Remember, wherever you are in your musical journey, I was there at one point. Unless, of course, you're way better than I am, in which case you get to sit back and laugh. This series will span over 3 videos I'll put out over the next little bit. Today, we're gonna look at my formative years, which I would also call the Blunder years. I picked up the guitar at age 13 and made my first recording within a month or so. I was in the school band playing clarinet, and we had these take-home tape tests. We were lent a tape recorder to record ourselves playing various scales, etudes, and songs. To my band teachers, I'm sorry I never took these all that seriously and was such a bad clarinetist. Anyways, I was at home with the recorder and I thought to myself, why not record myself rocking out? Problem was, I only knew one song. Kind of. A buddy taught me how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit, but he didn't know power chords, so he showed it to me using single notes on the E string. I went to the end of the band tape and recorded myself singing that song with alternate lyrics I'd made up. I so badly wish I still had a copy of this, but I don't. So here is a recreation of that first ever recording. End of the tape, this is the end of my tape. End of the tape, this is the end of my tape. Yeah! How that never became a smash hit, I don't know. So moving on, I started up a band with my best friends. We didn't have a name, but we shared a common love of classic rock. We'd hang out and jam in my buddy Iceman's basement. Why is he called Iceman, you may ask? Well, one day he came to us and said, "Call me Iceman," and that was that. Remember that name, he'll pop up a couple times throughout these stories. Iceman was a real solid drummer, and I kid you not, at age 14, he did a pretty spot-on Axl Rose impression, which was perfect because we played Don't Cry, I Used to Love Her, and Mama Kin on a continuous loop. Also in our set was Big 10 Inch by Aerosmith, Get Off My Cloud by the Rolling Stones, and our signature tune, the Kids in the Hall theme. The only gigs we ever did were these things called Music at Lunch, where during our lunch break, we would set up in the school's auditorium or hallway and play to whoever stumbled by. We didn't have a bass player, instead my friend Al would play bass lines on his Casio keyboard, Doors style. At some point in there we did wrangle up a bassist. His name is Tommy Toon and he's still a good friend of mine. Remember that name too. The only other gig we did was Fun John's 50th birthday. Fun John is Iceman's dad. Great times. I wish so badly there were some recordings from this era. But don't worry, I will be playing some recordings soon. The dynamics of our little group changed when some of us started getting more serious with music, whereas the others just wanted to do it for fun. On top of that, Iceman just wanted to drum and not sing. So we recruited my good friend Will for vocal duty as well as rhythm guitar. I remember well our very first jam session. I was thrilled to learn that he was also writing music. Will and I started writing together, and let me tell you, the early stuff wasn't all that great. Our band was called Shaky Gun, a name that Will came up which combined the pseudonyms of Neil Young and Bob Dylan, Shaky Bernard, and Elston Gunn. I've got some footage from our first ever gig. We played a benefit show at my high school to about 300 people. Not a bad first gig. Let's watch a song we wrote called It's Okay. I mean, it's a fitting title because at best the song is okay. It's a little tough to hear all the parts. I definitely could have benefited from watching my video on stage presence. The telly still looks beautiful as ever though. I should make a note that I'm going to put up the full videos for all these songs over at my second channel, which you should be seeing a link to somewhere up there, as well as there will be links in the description. That's right world, look out, Samurai Guitarist now has a second channel, aptly called Samurai Guitarist 2. After this show, Will and I were super jazzed on the band. Iceman was going in a bit of a different direction, so we ended up hooking up with a beast of a drummer named Tyson. Tommy Toon still rocking bass, and that would be the official lineup for Shaky Gun for years to come. Will and I would drive off in his car and regularly write music. We'd arrange the seats somehow so that we could both play guitars, spark up some creative magic, and get to it. This was an important phase for me because I was terrible at writing lyrics, whereas for Will, that was his forte. tape. Alone, I never could have made anything worthwhile. But together we made some cool stuff, the best of which we recorded as a 4-song EP. This is the best thing I did during my Blunder years. My favorite track is a song called Pride. Let's take a listen. Not a bad riff if I do say so. Again, if you like what you hear, go check out the full rendition over at my second channel. Listening back, there are some slight things I would have done differently now, but for the most part, I'm pretty proud of that record. A big part of it turning out well was we had a great producer. My friend Adam produced us, and he'll pop up a number of times in these stories as well. I should also note, he was my first guitar teacher when I started at age 13. We played a bunch of shows around Winnipeg, and unfortunately, I don't know of any footage of these, but there are a number of pictures. This was my first real taste of gigging, age 18 or 19 or so. We had a great time and we crushed it on MySpace. Okay, so moving on, we are about to get into some pretty rough recordings. I got a 16-track standalone Yamaha recorder as well as a microphone for my 18th birthday. At this point in my life, I hadn't quite accepted the fact that I was never going to be a singer. So brace yourself, this is going to be embarrassing. Oh Lord, where to start with that one? Simon Cowell may have said something about that being pitchy. So, funny story with this one, I wanted to write a Neil Young-esque type of song, and I thought the imagery of a broken wind was fairly majestic and beautiful. Not long after making this recording, I found out that broken wind is another name for a fart. Alright, let's listen to another one. This one is called Debro. It goes on like that for the rest of the recording, a dadgad vamp. Not too bad, to be honest. I rented that dobro for the shaky gun recording, and I played that percussion bit on the back with my hands. Alright, next up we have another song that I recorded in my bedroom. This one is called Transcend. I mean, that main riff is kind of cool. The rhythm is pretty rough because I don't think I knew how to work the metronome on that recorder. I'm sure this tune is heavily inspired by John Frusciante, as he was my main musical squeeze at that time. And the last recording I'll share today is an early attempt at playing jazz. That one's not so good, is it? No sense of phrasing whatsoever, no vocabulary. My current grading on that would be needs improvement. Okay, so next up in my life, I hit a bit of a roadblock. I was doing business classes at university and I realized it wasn't for me. I decided to peace out to Australia to do some soul searching. I brought that small parlor acoustic guitar you see in a number of my videos with me. I didn't practice much, but I did play it a lot. Unfortunately, there's no videos or audio from this period, but there are a lot of pictures. I also wrote a lot of music and still have the notebook here. At this point, lyrics were definitely not my specialty. It'll be quite some time before I write anything decent. We'll get around to that eventually. I don't really remember how any of these songs go, but I can read you some of these lyrics. You can take away my freedom, you can take away my pride. I don't have that much wisdom, and I don't have much to hide. You can take away my honor, you can fill me up with shame. If it makes you feel stronger, I'll keep on playing your games. As for his girl, he can never reach her. Could I have been a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher? Sees at the window as his head fills up with an overwhelming vision of an overfilling cup. Don't dream the day, live that way. Feel and think, eat and drink. Though not a single musical idea in this book is worth saving, I do believe that you need to pour your heart and soul into lots of different music until something good comes out. It was during this period I decided that I was going to pursue music full time and I wanted to go to school for it. And that's where we'll pick up next time. Stay tuned, the transition years are coming up. This was the time when I started to get the hang of this musical thing, even though there were still some rough patches. I'll also play you a song that I wrote with my friends where we tried to come up with the most depraved and vile thing we could. You don't want to miss that one. And the video after that, I'll show you the professional years. Thank you so much for watching, and remember you can hear full versions of these songs over at my second channel. It's gonna be a wild ride. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.